following recording is a production of Kicking Out at 2 in conjunction with the Retromania Pro Wrestling Podcast Network and is intended for private use only. For more information, head on over to facebook.com/Kicking Out at 2 or our Twitter handle @Kicking Out 2, along with searching Retromania with a W on any and all podcast platforms available to listen to archive shows such as this and all the great content of the Retromania Pro Wrestling Podcast Network. Evergreen content at your fingertips anytime at your listening pleasure. And with that being said, we thank you for listening and hope you enjoy the show. After a brief hiatus, we are back here kicking off the summer on Kicking Out at 2. I'm Dave Rosenbluth. I'm here with my brother Justin, and we are bringing you our version of the Forbidden Door as we head towards AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling's Forbidden Door. I don't even know half the fucking card, like I really care, because I'm not really a big AEW fan right now. But this is the sequel from our draft show that we did a couple of months back, where Justin and I did our own mock WWF Draft from 1992. He was, I believe he was Superstars, and I was Wrestling Challenge.
Yep.
And, yeah, so before we get into it, welcome.
You're welcome as well. Glad to be here. I think maybe we should not call this the Forbidden Door. I think I heard someone call the WWE or NXT TNA working relationship, they called it, I thought this was funny, the Prohibited Portal. maybe we can use that one for this.
Okay.
Or something, some other
all right. Yeah.
alliteration, if you will. But yeah, no, it'd be cool to kind of throw together a little card of our different brands battling it out for supremacy in the world of WWF 1992.
1992, yeah, that's right. So we both drafted rosters, and it's basically going to be pretty simple here. We're going to, put together a card, between, Superstars and Wrestling Challenge, and just kind of spitball and throw ideas out there. We don't really have a whole lot of structure, so this is going to be kind of done, on the fly, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. And 7 or 8 matches, I give or take. If we see somebody on the card that we think deserves to be on the card, then that we'll probably put an 8th match on there at some point. Maybe a battle royal, get everybody on the show kind of thing, as they do. But before we get into it, so AEW and New Japan, they have this Forbidden Door show coming up. The only match that really intrigues me, I think, is like Ospreay and Swerve. For the AEW title. I don't know what else. I think MJF's got a match. I don't know, because I haven't really been following a whole lot of AEW because they've not been very, the programming's not been very good. I'm sorry for those out there that listen, that watch AEW, but it's just not been very good in my eyes. And WWE's just been, lapping them like 10 years, 10 times over. So, but we're seeing a little bit of this. And I know let's say prohibited portal between NXT and TNA. Just give me your thoughts on what we've seen so far, and what have you liked, what have you disliked, and take it from there.
I don't know. I think it's kind of hard to say I dislike anything, because I don't know. You just got to look at it from the perspective of just what it is. Like, it's just spicing up the scene a little bit. For NXT, I see the injection of outside talent as helping that brand have some level of relevancy that's just more than, this is the developmental territory. I've likened NXT in recent years as kind of like the Grand Central Station of WWE, like Raw guys, SmackDown guys, they come in and out. And it appears to be that way with TNA talent. Before that, there was like that Evolve working relationship. Pre-COVID,
yeah.
Triple H had he brought Jushin Thunder Liger in for a pay-per-view. Like, it had that indie, like, very transient
open
feel.
Door.
Yeah, the Forbidden Door before there was a Forbidden Door. Mm-hmm. So especially as NXT's evolving and taking different shapes, I see it as a great way to bring in maybe the fans who are maybe less enchanted with WWE as a whole, because they're the Coca-Cola of the business. Mm-hmm. And you might have your more hardcore fans or your more niche of the niche mm-hmm. in the TNA space or the AAA space or the, Marigold space in Japan or whatever. Like, gives fans interesting matchups to go on with, and I think it, like I said, I think it creates a bigger tent and for NXT's benefit in that respect to be a more worldly brand. Now on the other side, the TNA side, I feel like you have an opportunity to put talent that is only seen by those people, right? Not the casual fan that's going to be in WWE, and now they're being seen in front of way more people and in a more diverse audience, and that can only help them. So I think that it's just a to me, it's the way of working a relationship should be done. We don't need an invasion angle. You know what I mean? For all these different type of cross promotional, ventures, like it's just getting talent in front of new faces and helping elevate them and brands. And I think it's being done at the right healthy dose.
Yeah, it's not over. It's not overdone where like you said, like an invasion angle and they take over the show and then they go on each other's show. I know that TNA in recent years did a cross promotion with AEW and it really didn't serve TNA much. It was more or less to put Kenny Omega over and add another championship, and I think Christian was the champion too at one point. I mean, that wasn't bad, but I didn't see how it benefited TNA. Even when they were on the show, it didn't feel like it really benefited TNA much. Yeah,
it definitely felt like in their relationship, it was more storyline driven, but not in the way that felt organic or felt like you said, it felt like just a way to put another belt on Omega. And when they did that, it was like, well, now we got to bring someone from TNA to AEW, or
they didn't really bring anybody.
It just felt like there wasn't really a bigger, more thought out plan. I'm not saying WWE has everything thought out to the T, but like it just felt it didn't feel like there was anything important to it that was happening.
I'm just hoping that for TNA's sake, that with this promotion, because I mean it's gonna clearly right now you see it's benefiting WWE a little more. With Jordan Grace and just more recently Joe Hendry, who I never even heard of this guy before, and apparently his theme song is what has gotten him over. He's like
more or less,
he's pretty much like Orange Cassidy in that space where like he's got something very unique and obscure that has gotten him over in a as opposed to traditionally what gets a guy over in wrestling, whether it's their personality or their in-ring work.
I'll say this. I think his personality is in relationship to that theme song. It's a very indie gimmick, I will say. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I think I said to you privately as well, like, we'll see how good he is, because I think he is pretty solid. Like, I think there is something there that can become, or
they can expand upon it.
That could be, whether it's in TNA or WWE, AEW, wherever. We'll see how good he really can be, if he can evolve and grow out of that, of just leaning on that song and dance, literally. You know what I mean? If he can do that, then I think he's definitely got the potential to be bigger than what he is, or better than what he is. And I think the Orange Cassidy comparison is good. And I think the only difference, I think, of the comparisons is the Orange Cassidy comparison. When Orange Cassidy burst on the scene in AEW, everyone was like, you need to watch him because he's going to change the wrestling business. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't just, oh, he's really good and he's got a unique gimmick and pay attention. It's, you don't know how good he is until you've watched him.
We do.
Like as if we've
seen him.
And it's like, okay, I get it.
At Pro Wrestling really, Gorilla at the,
and don't get me wrong, I appreciate
the fucking Avocado Elks Lodge.
I appreciate his skill set and I appreciate his unique presentation, but like, he's not setting the world on fire. You know what I mean? There was a chance that they could have done that. I think his stuff with Chris Jericho when he first came around was actually pretty decent. And that was in the honeymoon era of AEW.
I didn't like that.
But, like...
And that did it for me for Jericho in terms of, like...
Right. Like, once they did... And as stupid as, like the orange juice bath was or whatever, the orange squeeze, like, I got it, right? Okay, it makes sense. The name Orange Cassidy, like, okay, there's something there. They tied it in. But to me, like everything else with AEW, They did that, and they put him with a guy who could elevate him, and then what?
Yeah, nothing happened after that.
That's literally AEW
Yeah.
in a nutshell. And then what?
Yep. Yeah.
You know, ATW. And then what?
Yeah.
What did you do with this thing, with this really, like, no disrespect to MJF, but disrespect to MJF. And then what?
Yeah.
You've come back. The War of 24 is over.
Yeah.
You cut that awesome promo. Even I gushed over a couple years back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then what?
That worked shoot promo that everyone thought was a shoot because he said the F word on there.
CM Punk. You know what I mean? And then what? And then the Bucks took their victory lap when he left. And then what?
Yeah.
I know we're going on a tangent here. It's not really Forbidden Door related, but that's, you know what I mean? That's, to me, where WWE and this relationship, I feel like, is starting to lay blocks down.
Yeah.
We're going to find out what is.
Mm-hmm. I just hope we see more of some of the bigger names from NXT on the TNA shows. I would like to see like a Trick Williams on there, Pillman's kid, Lexus King, you know, names like that.
Sean Spears.
Yeah, Sean Spears. I'd love to see those guys on TNA to kind of give them that rub too as well. Not just on the NXT platform.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, so we'll you know, time will tell. I have a feeling we'll probably see like a Worlds Collide kind of event between those two. I mean, I just saw something recently that there was a rumor that this working relationship could potentially be the beginning of WWE buying them out because Anthem doesn't really. Anthem's kind of like Turner and what they were with WCW. They're not 100% behind them as an operation. They're not. It's not like on a gigantic corporate level like Turner was.
Right.
You know, but from what I've been reading, you know, Anthem made some cuts and it was at the expense of, you know, TNA, which is already a low budget production to begin with.
So it's funny you say that. Here's an idea that I had kind of come up with that it's probably not going to happen, and I don't know if there's any real substance or logic to it.
Yeah.
But what if, you know, with NXT particularly being the ones at the forefront of these cross-promotional relationships with companies all across the world in wrestling, what if that was a device to not just get access to the rosters of those companies, but what if like NXT was like licensed, was like a licensed brand to those brands? So like this might be a weedy thing to try to navigate through to explain, but what if like WWE licensed NXT to Impact to get access to their rosters? So like if you're creating a North American territory for NXT, because I know they want to go Canada and Europe and Japan and Mexico. Like, what if they created a working relationship with NXT for NXT in Japan, where it was NXT Noah for Pro Wrestling Noah, and their NXT roster became the Pro Wrestling Noah roster
with those Japanese talents.
Now, the differentiator is Pro Wrestling Noah would still be a thing, but they would then also hold shows under the NXT banner, with like the endorsement of WWE, NXT banner, with like the endorsement of WWE, and with some WWE wrestlers on there. But again, you're using almost everything under the hood from another company, that being the TNA, the Noah. Now that's like in my head, I'm like, what if they did like an NXT Impact, and that was like basically predominantly TNA's roster
with some NXT guys, and girls.
And maybe that's the new show on Anthem. You know what I mean? For the North American brand of NXT. Yeah. And then you take that elsewhere.
Yeah.
That type of model.
Yeah. I mean, that's not a bad idea. I think that's a little ways, well, maybe even a lot ways down the road. I think the working relationships that the new WWE management is trying to maintain and secure it's not the norm of what it used to be, because the old regime didn't work with other organizations. Absolutely. So I think like, you know, and this is just me, you know, as an outsider talking here, I think on the outside, when you look at it, Hunter's just trying to dip his toe in the water for the time being and not do too much. with some of these relationships, and then if things get to a point where they are really comfortable and they like where they're going with it, then maybe you slap the NXT brand on something like that.
Yeah, and I feel like you could
use
do
one of
things
one of those promotions as like their feeder system. You know?
And I feel like they could do things where, like, if you had like an NXT Impact show, right? Again, separate of the regular Impact show, but they both still exist. So you can kind of cross promote. And, WWE events on that show.
Yep.
And TNA events on that show. So, like, if you had a blended roster where maybe it's a lot of TNA guys, you could further continue and build stories that are going to not just take place in that NXT TNA universe, but take place in the WWE universe, take place in the TNA universe. And, again, you can kind of just... It's a portal of sorts, you know what I mean, between the two wrestling companies where they both converge. Benefit, I think, to TNA would be, like you said, you slap the WWE NXT logo on their company, and they've got some raised awareness to them and their talents, whereas WWE then gets access to their talent, to their literal talents at the same time. And again, with that access comes further relationship building with what I feel like is, the niche of the niche fan. You know what I mean? That might be gun shy to engage with WWE because it's so desensitized or corporate.
Yeah.
Just spitballing.
Yeah. It's nothing. It's nothing that's I mean, it's talked about, but it's not. It's not something I don't think that's coming to fruition anytime soon. But we'll see. Yeah, overall, I think it's been interesting, and it's been a shot in the arm, especially for WWE program, because you're not used to seeing. I mean, AJ Styles is going to go wrestle over in Japan again. I couldn't. God,
I don't know who the guy is.
I don't know who he is. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name. Out of respect to him, and that's no disrespect intended, but. They're trying different things, and it's getting a positive reaction. So I think if they keep going in this direction, we will see something like that down the road. And I mean, TNA's app is operated by Endeavor.
That could be another reason for the relationship in general too.
Yeah.
is to get people to drive them to that place. And
I had the TNA app for a while. It was like $70. I paid $70 for the year, and I watched it for the old stuff, the archived footage of the older TNA episodes. I didn't watch any of the newer stuff, but I guess now the app, they have included the pay-per-views live, or the PLEs, or whatever you want to call them, because they used to have the pay-per-views. I think it used to be like a week or 2 weeks or a month they would be available in their archives. Now they have them like Peacock has them now. Yeah. It's live and available within a few hours after the live airing. But that's a very possible reason as well for this working relationship. All right, so let's get into this card here that we're going to build, the Prohibited Portal between WWF Superstars and WWF Wrestling Challenge. So just for context here, champions were exclusive to these brands. So I have Macho Man Randy Savage as the WWF champion on Wrestling Challenge, and I believe you have Bret Hart as the Intercontinental Champion, and do you have Money Inc. Money Inc. as the tag team champion? Okay, and we had thrown an idea out there about the Real World's Championship that Ric Flair.
I have Ric Flair as the Real World's champion.
Okay, so the first idea that pops up in my head for 1992, it was a match that I still really firmly believe people wanted to see it, regardless of what WWE tells you about the live events not drawing well and what have you. But my first idea for this card as part of I guess you could say maybe a double main event, is Hogan and Flair
for the Real
World's Championship. And Hogan is a free agent in our universe, and Flair's exclusive property to Superstars. So that's one idea that comes to mind.
I'm good with that. The one thought I had about Hulk Hogan before we put our stamp on that Hogan Flair match. 1992, you got to remember, to me, the rubber match with him and the Undertaker, I think would have been interesting.
Ooh, I didn't think of that.
He obviously lost at Survivor Series.
He won it Tuesday in Texas,
and then he won it too. Both controversial
Finishes,
matches where they both got a win.
Yeah,
and then you go to a rubber match. And I think the Undertaker is a good choice for not just that, but just he's a unique character. And Hogan, obviously, in our universe, is kind of placed in a different, position.
Yeah, he's
as
different level.
The Babe Ruth free agent guy. So I would, just something to think about there. I do like the Flair because, to me, Flair Hogan obviously is kind of like the fantasy matchup of all fantasy matchups.
Yeah.
And we've already seen for coming off of the day after WrestleMania in 1992, he's already faced Savage. You know what I mean? But then again, do we do it again in 1992? If you think about the storylines, he loses the world title to
Savage at WrestleMania.
If we think about it from that perspective, if Flair has lost the WWF Championship to Randy Savage and is now kind of dusted off his real world's title, do you get a return match where Flair's like, okay, you may have that title, but I have this title, which is kind of what they did before, but now he's doing it with some heat behind it now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. The heat being he's shitting on the title that he held and defended, only to lose.
Okay.
So this branching off of the idea of doing Hogan and Taker would be to just do a rematch of Savage and Flair, where you could even unify the titles. You know what I mean? Who is the real, undisputed world's heavyweight champion? In 1992, such a title match hadn't taken place in the history of wrestling. At least, it did in the various territories and all that, but on a mainstream level, such a match had yet to take place.
Yeah.
So I think there would have been legs to a Savage, Flair, or anybody with those two belts in play.
Yeah,
going for it. If we're looking at the body of an entire card.
Okay.
I think that would be a potential to go in. And again,
those two matches there.
Hogan, Undertaker, Savage, Flair.
Okay.
I'd even make Savage, Flair a fucking ladder match. In 1992, we're entering the world where ladder matches are a thing.
Yeah, later that year, I think Shawn and Brett had the first ladder match.
Well, that was just going to bring me to my next point. Do we put a Shawn Michaels Bret Hart Intercontinental Championship match on the card?
I actually thought about that. Not the ladder match, but I thought about Shawn and Brett at that time. That's interesting too.
So there's that to maybe put on the card. And since we'll kind of keep it to the belts at least to kind of loosely structure a shell. I've got Money Inc. With Jimmy Hart, they're the World Tag Team Champions. I believe you have the Legion of Doom.
I do. With
that
Paul
to
Ellering.
Me fits.
Yeah.
Seeing as that's kind of where they went anyways. Who else do you have for tag teams?
I got the Natural Disasters, and they were baby faces. The Head Shrinkers. They had just come into the company not long after WrestleMania. I believe they debuted after WrestleMania. Those are my 3 tag teams there. But, I mean, we could also have makeshift tag teams, too. Like, shit. I could put, like a, fuck, I don't know. I could put, a Big Boss Man with, an El Matador, as a makeshift team if I wanted to.
So what were the
or a
teams
Big Boss
again?
Man hacks. Head Shrinkers, Natural Disasters, and Legion of Doom are my tag teams. And I think you have.
I have Money Inc. I have the Nasty Boys, the Bushwhackers, the Beverly Brothers.
Okay.
I would say maybe we do a Fatal 4-Way for the belts, and I offer out Money Inc. and one of my teams, and you give me 2 of your teams.
Okay. All right. That sounds pretty good. I like that.
I like the Head Shrinkers.
I was going to say, I was going to do LOD Head Shrinkers, and then if you do Money Inc., and then you pick a fourth team.
And that's the thing. I don't have a lot of great teams. Do I throw a makeshift team together? I'm just looking at some singles guys I got here. Ultimate Warrior, Bulldog, Piper. Ooh, I could do High Energy.
I was going to say,
I got Owen and Coco.
Okay.
So that,
Owen and Coke. So yeah. So if you
before I commit Owen to that, I got to figure out if Owen's even.
Well, 1992 Owen Hart was not anywhere near what he was, a year and a half,
in terms
2
of
years
like
later. Drawing, yeah,
relevancy.
He didn't really come out of his shell till after the match at Survivor Series, and that's what started things with him and Brett. So, if we're staying within that space and that timeline, but we're implementing, these as separate brands, I think Owen and Coco as a team is a good place for them in a 4-way tag with these other 3 teams that we're discussing here.
And I'm just trying to look at the clash of styles, too. You've got the Powerhouse and LOD. You've kind of got the fucking Animals, the Savages, and the Head Shrinkers.
Money Inc. are good technicians, and higher energy are the High Flyers. So you have,
I feel like that's a good mix. And also just, like, on the card.
Yeah.
Like, the rub that you would get working with the tag champs and with, like, the GOAT tag team.
Yep.
For the Head Shrinkers, who were just kind of starting to become featured. And then High Energy, which was like a lower card team, just getting that shine in that scene.
Yeah,
I feel like would probably be a good way to go.
Yeah,
I like that match.
Yeah, let's book that match. Let's lock that in.
Yeah, I'm good with locking that one.
All right, so Money Inc. defending the WWF Tag Team Championship, representing WWF Superstars against another team representing WWF Superstars, High Energy, Owen Hart, and Coco Beware, against Wrestling Challenges, the Head Shrinkers, and the Legion of Doom with Paul Ellering. Fatal 4-way tag team match for the WWF Tag Team Championship. The first match on this Forbidden Door / Prohibited Portal of...
We're going to call the show...
Oh, you got a name for it?
No, yeah, we're going to call it Prohibited Portal.
Prohibited Portal. Okay. All right. I like that idea. Prohibited Portal. Okay. While we're on titles, why don't we go to the Intercontinental Championship? And I'm not against the Brett Shawn idea in a ladder match for the Intercontinental title, but there are some decent selections here of talent on this side, aside from Shawn, that you could put in an Intercontinental Championship match with Brett. Mr. Perfect is one.
To face Brett?
To face Brett.
Yeah.
On this side. Lex Luger.
Oh, that's right, Lex Luger.
Lex Luger. Kerry Von Erich, Texas Tornado. You could do like a babyface versus babyface. Brett and Kerry. Another one that I think would be a pretty good matchup. The model Rick Martel and Bret Hart for the Intercontinental Championship. So those
Luger
are
Luger just popped in my head because I have on my roster. I'm thinking this is 1992 WWF. There's got to be a beefy match. What do
you think, a Luger and Warrior?
I've got Warrior on my side. I've got Bulldog on my side. And if we're thinking Luger 1992, he's cocky,
the
narcissist-ish.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a program to be had with
Warrior or
Bulldog.
Yeah.
I almost feel like Bulldog, but then again, I don't know. Warrior fits too. Who else do you have in your side? Because Warrior's got to be on the card.
All right, yeah, Warrior's definitely going to be on the card. I had thoughts of maybe Warrior and Sid, stemming from WrestleMania 8, because Warrior came in, helped Hogan, and it was against Sid in the main event. That's some beef there. I got Papa Shango.
Warrior Sid, I feel like that's a good one already. Like,
yeah,
we could definitely that matchup makes sense. So maybe Luger Bulldog.
I like Luger Bulldog. Like a body's kind of like Luger's got the Luger's like you said, narcissist-ish. So he's posing. He's all about his body, how he looks, and then Bulldog is the humble, athletic, good-looking,
just
strong baby
character, charismatic,
yeah,
kind of happy-go-lucky. Got the dog, all that stuff. Yeah. I'm just kind of typing out the card as we're going.
So Luger and Bulldog, you want to lock that in?
I would put Luger and Bulldog in, yeah.
And do you want to lock in Sid and Warrior? Or do you think?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
So, yeah, I'm just doing this one-handed. But, yeah, I'm locking in we got the tag match we mentioned. Money Inc., LOD.
Now,
Shrinkers.
I got an idea that just kind of popped in my head. Okay? You got Piper, right?
Yep, I want to get him on there somewhere.
All right. What about Piper and Shawn Michaels? Yeah. Cocky, arrogant, 1992 Heartbreak Kid against the veteran, cocky, brash, outspoken, Rowdy Piper.
I like that. Yeah. There's definitely, especially for 1992 Shawn Michaels, working with a guy like Roddy Piper is going to do that guy wonders.
Yeah.
Like in an area of development that is probably where he needed to be developed. Like the guy could already work his ass off.
Yeah.
Like what's another match with Bret Hart or a Perfect or a El Matador going to do to make him a better worker? I'm sure it does wonders for him regardless, but now we're talking about like character-driven work and just cutting promos, having to duel with Roddy Piper. I think there's absolutely, I like that. I like that match.
Okay. Now, I was also thinking, this just kind of popped in my head. Flair doesn't necessarily have to defend the Real World's Championship either. And stemming from the finish to WrestleMania 8, you could go a number of different avenues, but what if we did Hogan and Warrior in a tag as an attraction against Sid and Papa Shango to kind of follow up from what took place at the end of WrestleMania 8? It's just an idea.
That's not bad.
It's just an idea.
That's not terrible. We can definitely kind of keep that in the back pocket too.
Okay. So what do we have locked in? Luger and Bulldog and the tag team titles?
I'm good with locking in Piper and Michaels.
And Piper and Michaels?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So tag team championship, fatal four-way, Money Inc., LOD, Head Shrinkers, and High Energy. Shawn Michaels with Sensational Sherry against Rowdy Piper, and Lex Luger and the British Bulldog.
Yep.
In like a big man, power man type match.
Yep.
Okay. Trying to see here. Out of some guys on your roster, do you want to figure out Brett's situation with the Intercontinental title next, or are you looking around, or any other ideas popping up for you?
Say that again?
Do you want to lock down what Brett's going to do as the Intercontinental Champion and get that situated, or do you want to look around and see something else?
We can lock in Brett.
Okay.
I like Brett, Texas Tornado. Brett Perfect is good too.
Oh, I got one. Brett Randy Savage, WWF Champion versus the Intercontinental Champion. Or is that too soon?
No, it's not too soon.
Is there any, you want to see what else comes off the page here?
Yeah. Who else do you have on your side?
All right. So Sid's open. Perfect. Natural disasters. You just locked up Luger. Martel. Texas Tornado. Papa Shango. Big Boss Man. Hacksaw Jim Duggan. El Matador. The Mountie. Dino Bravo. The Barbarian, and the Repo Man.
I don't know. I kind of like Texas Tornado.
Brett and Kerry?
I feel like they could have done a kind of like, a clash of families in that match. In a story for them.
I could see in that time, as with Brett as Intercontinental Champion, he's a fighting champion. He'll face all challengers, and he kind of recognizes what Kerry Von Erich's ability and talent is, and he wants to offer him an opportunity at the championship, being the fighting champion that he is, and also having respect for him because of his family lineage.
Right,
and you kind of tie that all together, and then you could almost, in a way, kind of turn that into what some of that animosity was between Brett and Piper heading into WrestleMania 8.
Yeah.
My family was better than your family.
Yeah, definitely.
I think there's some meat on the bone there in that regard.
Yeah, I like that. I like that idea.
Okay. Is that something you want to lock in?
Yeah,
all right.
Let's lock it in.
So for the Intercontinental Championship at the WWF Prohibited Portal, we will see Bret the Hitman Hart defend the Intercontinental Championship against the Texas Tornado Kerry Von Erich. Now, here's something, too, to think about, and I don't know if this has crossed your mind, but are we married to the idea of some of these guys staying true to their characters in terms of being a heel and a babyface, or can we, in more recent years with the WWE Draft, guys will, get drafted to a different show, and then they either change their look, or they turn heel, or they turn on their tag team partner kind of thing. Is that something we can implement in this?
I think in this card, it's just circumstantial to probably like whatever good story could be put together with each of these matches. You know what I mean? I would say that more than anything. So,
all right.
Like,
I wasn't sure if
to Brett and Texas Tornado, like, is there a world where Brett turns heel? Maybe not. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right. Just curious what your thoughts were on that. So we have an Intercontinental title. We have a tag team title. We have the big man match. And then we have Shawn and Piper. So that's 4 matches already. Okay. With plenty of people left that are some big names. Hogan, Warrior, Savage, Flair, Sid, Undertaker, Mr. Perfect. At least on, those are some pretty heavy hitters that haven't made the card yet. Trying to think. Probably need a good undercard. So 4. I would say we probably need a good undercard match, like, well, there's not a whole lot of stakes, but trying to see on my side who I'd want on. So who you got left for tag team? Bushwhackers and Beverly Brothers?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Who you got for mid-card singles guys?
Mid-card singles guys.
Heel and babyface. Just round them off.
Where was it? Mid-card. Tatanka, Virgil, Brutus, Beefcake. I got Sergeant Slaughter. Just getting mid-card guys. There's some guys further down the trough that aren't really worth mentioning yet. Mm-hmm. Those will be like in the Battle Royal or something, Mm-hmm. So yeah, I have Andre the Giant on my card, but I feel like he might be like the centerpiece of a Battle Royal.
Yeah.
In 1992.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's where I was kind of headed with like.
But yeah, I would say again Tatanka. Oh yeah, and the Nasty Boys. I have the.
You have Nasty Boys tag team? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Nasty Boys, Beverly Brothers, Bushwhackers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tatanka sticks out for me. What if we did a Tatanka Mr. Perfect singles match.
I like that. That's like there's something about that that's almost like a showcase.
Yeah.
For Tatanka. Not like a showcase like, here's Tatanka, this great, like, internally when you're building a match, you're relying on the idea that, like, this is a big one for Tatanka.
Yeah.
And we're going to put Kurt with him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I like that.
Heel Mr. Perfect, 1992, going up against this young upstart in Tatanka, seeing if Tatanka can hang with him kind of thing.
So we're at 4 matches now, just to be clear.
All right.
So putting that one in there, we still need to get Flair and Savage on the card. Like I
Hogan,
feel like
Warrior,
Hogan,
Undertaker, Sid.
And part of me, so like, those to me seem like the ideals. I almost feel like we need to solidify those now, and that's why I feel like I don't know. I still like a Flair Savage ladder match to unify the belts.
Okay.
I like Hogan and Undertaker as like the semi to rubber match it. But I also like Warrior and Sid too, like the one that you brought up.
Hogan, Warrior versus Sid and Shango?
I do like that too. So if we do that, where does that leave Flair though?
If you have Flair and Savage,
you still do the unification.
You could do Flair and Savage unification for the Real World's title in a ladder match. Because there's really nobody else on the card that you can put Flair against that's worth. I mean, you could have put Kerry Von Erich against Flair, Real World Champion, and you go back to when Kerry beat Flair as the NWA champion. We could have done that. Yeah. But I like the Brett Tornado more specifically with the family lineage attached to that.
So since we have 4, if we did, I'm just trying to game out what a card would look like and how much more we could do. If we did a Hogan Warrior versus Sid and Papa Shango, that would give us then ideally Savage and Flair, and then
Undertaker.
Like, who does he work? You know.
Okay,
I mean?
so on my side here, all right. I've always been intrigued by. I've always been interested and intrigued by the idea of why, with all the big men that Undertaker worked over the years, especially in his early run, the Kamalas, the King Kong Bundys, the Giant Gonzalez, all the big, lugs that they put him with, that they didn't put him with Earthquake at one point, and how athletic and how, highly regarded Earthquake was as a big man, for his work. A heel Earthquake against a babyface Undertaker.
How does that storyline start? Earthquake like sits on the urn or something? I mean,
now, all right, now hold on.
It's not. No, I like the matchup. I really do actually like the matchup.
Now, here's another idea. Okay, that might be a little bit more in Undertaker's wheelhouse. All right, for 1992. Undertaker's got the casket, the whole ambiance of death. What if we brought back the heel Big Boss Man against the Undertaker? I have Slick on my roster. Slick is Boss Man's manager. Boss Man, kind of feeling like his time is limited, and all these young cats are passing him by, and he was one of the most feared guys in the WWF for a number of years, and now Undertaker is that guy, and maybe Boss Man wants to show the Undertaker that he still runs the cell block in the WWF, so to speak. Yeah. It's just an idea.
No. Yeah, again, I'm just looking at like our space to put matches together. So again, if we did the Hogan Shango, the Hogan Warrior tag against Sid and Papa Shango, the Savage
Flair would be the ladder match unification for the championship,
and then I feel like we're already pegging a battle royal of just everybody else.
Well, yeah. So like
that's 7. So we're gonna have 8 probably.
We'll probably have 8. Yeah.
So that would be 3.
Because I feel like here's what I'm feeling, right? So based on what you said about Andre earlier, Andre will automatically be like a centerpiece in that battle royal. He's gonna need some beef. So like Earthquake, Typhoon's there, Papa Shango. He needs a little beef in that battle royal to kind of size up with a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you got all the other cast of characters that
Yeah. If we're going to be honest, not that we're not that we're necessarily booking the finishes to all these matches right here, but I'm thinking Andre probably just wins that because he's Andre the Giant. It's 1982.
I think,
we're gonna give him his flowers.
Yeah.
So it's really it's your gimmick battle royal of 1992. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like the same match they did at WrestleMania 17, but 10 years sooner.
Yep.
With Andre in it. So I'm just gaming out how we do it. If we do it the way that it sounds like we're getting closer to locking in. I feel like we're I feel like we're just figuring out the Undertaker right now.
Oh, yes, we are. And something just came to me.
Okay.
Undertaker Papa Shango. The dead man versus the voodoo.
So then how does that affect what we do with Hogan and Sid and Warrior?
Okay. So shit.
I mean, a quick fix. Even though it is 1992, you go Warrior Sid, you go Shango Taker, and then you go triple threat Hogan Savage Flair. That's a quick fix.
Yeah, I'm not in love with it, but
yeah, it doesn't.
I'm not in love with it, but I get it. Shit.
And I know we talked about we're obviously getting back to the top of the card. Like we still Mr. Perfect is still in play. Like, oh, here's an idea.
Okay.
We could do Savage versus Flair, unifying the title. This might sound a little stanky because we have the opportunity to do maybe theoretically better. But in the corner of Ric Flair is Mr. Perfect, and in the corner of Randy Savage is Hulk Hogan.
So no Miss Elizabeth?
Well, Miss Elizabeth's there.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean,
Hogan's there to back up Savage, make sure that the title. That's got, you know what? That's
for 1992. You know what I mean? Yeah. I feel like there's something there that, Hogan's retired, remember? Mm-hmm. He's retired.
Well, he said it could have been his last match.
Yeah. There's some vagueness to it. Yeah. But this can also play into that vagueness. Hogan is there to support his brother. You know what I mean? His Mega Powers brother. And Savage or Flair already has perfect. Flair already has Bobby Heenan. So it's almost like they've got two people in their corners.
Yeah, so
you've got the Savage, Mega Powers reuniting.
Yeah.
That could be the
big tagline.
All
right, but let me ask you this then. Wouldn't you think, though, that after what took place at the end of WrestleMania 8 when Warrior saved Hogan and they stood tall against Sid and Shango, that Hogan would want to get some kind of comeuppance?
I mean,
on those two in some. I'm not trying to book. I'm not trying to force the tag match either.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is if we're gonna do this, this is all predicated on if we moved Papa Shango off to do Smoke and Mirrors with Undertaker.
Okay,
then that leaves Savage and Sid, who kind of slides in for Hogan. Mm-hmm. Sid wants Savage, or not Savage. Sid wants Warrior now.
Yeah,
if you think based off of how WrestleMania 8 ended.
Yeah.
And he can get to Hogan later. Or, he can even drive some heat into it by saying, I pushed Hogan into retirement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just as I was ready to put the final nail in the coffin, and pun intended or not, out came the Ultimate Warrior. Now I'm going to go put him into retirement or whatever. You know what I mean? He thinks he's going to come back. I'm going to put him right back where he was. That could be the story there.
Okay.
And then again, Smoke and Mirrors, Papa Shango, Undertaker writes itself. And then Hogan is kind of free and clear, and that's when he can kind of reunite the Mega Powers to meet this unification match where Flair's flanked by Perfect and Bobby Heenan.
So no Tatanka Perfect.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay. All right. So do we have Tatanka in a singles match, or is Tatanka or we just throw him in the Battle Royal? Because there's not much on this side here that.
So if we did, right now we've got the four. We've got the tag match. We've got Luger Bulldog. We've got Piper Michaels. We've got Brett and Texas Tornado. So if we did the unification match, that's 5 with the guys in their corners, right? If we did Shango and Undertaker, that's 6.
And then the Battle Royal would be 7.
And then Warrior Sid is 8.
8, okay.
I'm okay with that because I feel like there's still, again, if you booked out a Battle Royal, like Tatanka could have a good showing. You have Andre the Giant who could theoretically, even in victory or defeat,
endorse Tatanka in that
give an
sense.
endorsement, pass a torch.
Yeah.
Hand a baton off to someone. And that's where Tatanka can really...
Or let's say in that Battle Royal, if you remember, Andre tried making a comeback and doing Andre and Earthquake in 91. Earthquake and Typhoon eliminate Andre, and then Andre helps Tatanka win the Battle Royal
I like
over
that
one of the
idea
big
too.
guys.
That's a really good idea. I can almost go with that better because you could still kind of give Andre his flowers in the moment regardless.
Yeah.
The more I think about it, though, and maybe this is splitting hairs here, but we have Warriors where we have Warrior Sid. If we go Warrior Sid, we also just remember we also do have a beefy match already on the card. So, what do we maybe throw them in the Battle Royal and leave an opening somewhere for something else, or leave it at 7? Put some more story into that. Sid, I retired Hulk Hogan. I'm coming for you, Ultimate Warrior, or I'm calling you out. I'm gonna throw out Andre the Giant. I'm gonna do this, that, and the other, and that becomes kind of the attraction, the
story
of the match.
in that match.
And Warrior maybe has some hero element to coming into that match. Whether he wins or loses is not.
Here. It's not a bad idea, but here's what I
just to not over beef the card. To add extra beef to the card.
Here's what my issue is with that. My issue. You got all these other undercard guys in there, right? And then you got like 3 big names: Warrior, Sid, and Andre the Giant in this match. You kind of mapped out like your clear-cut, obvious winner in that match when you put those 3 guys and everybody else. At least for me, just on paper, when you look at it.
Fair, but therein lies the... Like, how many Money in the Bank ladder matches have we seen where, like, they give you your 2 or 3s, and then it's somebody else? And you're like, whoa, all right, so-and-so got the briefcase.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, someone's got to drive the story to give interest. They don't necessarily have to win. So, like, you could keep a story evolving with Warrior and Sid. You can have the obvious, Andre the Giant's the king of the Battle Royals, as your stories that you're bringing people in to be interested in, and then you have your chance for a Tatanka to win. You have your chance, you know what I mean? Like, not that Tatanka's going to get that TV time, if you will, heading into the match, but something to really just add some star power to the match. I'm not even saying that, like, we could still do Warrior Sid. I'm not against that either. I
also think
because if we did Warrior Sid, if we moved Warrior Sid in and then decided we needed to put another match in, I'm not sure what that other match is going to be.
So here's what I'm thinking. We only have 1 tag match on the card. Okay. Let's say we go with the attraction, and this is simply an attraction. Hogan and Warrior, Sid and Shango.
Right.
Okay. And that goes on like middle of the card.
Right, yeah.
Right? The title match is the main event.
Yeah.
Okay? You can still kind of... Hogan can tie up his loose ends with Sid and Shango. Okay? And maybe in the backstage area, right before the interview, Hogan could say, when I get done, handling Sid and Shango, I'm coming for the winner of the Real World's Heavyweight Championship match. Okay. And then that's how you can kind of include Hogan in there. Maybe Hogan comes in as like a last-minute backup for Randy Savage.
Yeah, that's not bad. I wouldn't necessarily... Yeah, I feel like it would have to be something that would take place on the show to get him featured in the segment of the match.
That's what I'm saying.
Of the main event, rather than
like
I wouldn't advertise him for both.
Or like him and Flair pass by in the hall, and Flair kind of, is showing off. He's got the belt or whatever, He's like, I'm the champ, whatever.
So okay, so
like,
and I'm good with, but I'm also good with just like Hogan, like Savage Flair unification, and I feel like you kind of have the right idea. Like Hogan is going to insert himself somehow, even if it's just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Into that match, whether it's to help Savage chase off the heels, whatever.
Yeah.
Like he's going to get in there.
Yeah.
And yeah.
He doesn't even have to make a proclamation that he wants the winner of the title.
Yeah.
It could just be something where
all he has to do is go, you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And we all know.
He could run down there to help Savage,
Yeah.
and they can have that Mega Powers reunited moment to close out that show with Savage holding both. I'm not booking the finish, but
however it ends, right?
However it ends, but it ends with him and Savage, in the ring, and even maybe Savage just like, what are you doing here, kind of thing. Like,
are we doing this again? And then you could even play off of the handshake. And
he's kind of got Liz, right there, and kind of, holding her tight because, he remembered, Hulk had lust in his eyes for her the last time.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Yeah. What are you here for, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it kind of, it goes along with Savage's very untrusting, trait of his personality with anyone in general.
I would actually probably have Flair win the match so that you could set up Hogan and Flair in the future. And then, but the end of the show is still kind of like Hogan, kind of like helping Savage up to help him dust him off, and Savage like, what the fuck?
What are you doing here?
Well, yeah, what do you? And then going back to their history, and you tease the eventual possible reunion of the group, right? But that's, I feel like, how you would end it.
So perfect
to set up. You would be setting up Flair to beat Savage to then get Hogan to Flair eventually at Prohibited Portal 2 or whatever, WrestleMania 9.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, you know what I mean? So
here's what here's what I'm proposing. Instead of Perfect and Tatanka can get his endorsement in the Battle Royal, whether he wins it or Andre endorses him at the end. You put Andre, Tatanka, Mr. Perfect won't wrestle on this card. He'll be in Flair's corner.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
And
is the Flair's, before we go back, is the Flair are we going to do a ladder match?
I'm down with that.
All right.
I'm down with Flair Savage in a ladder match. I'd love to have seen what Randy Savage would have done with a ladder. Like, that's, I feel like
there is something that
I feel like if Randy Savage did a ladder match before Shawn Michaels,
it's Randy Savage's match and not Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
And that's a good way to look at it. Another way to look at, I think, even the intrigue of a ladder match in terms of the hype is Randy Savage is crazy all on his own.
Yep.
Put a ladder in that dude's hands.
Exactly.
Like, what's Randy Savage with a ladder going to do?
Exactly. I mean? So Perfect won't wrestle on the card, but he'll be in Flair's corner. Now, here's another thing, too, that you can kind of justify and rationalize getting Hogan, okay? Going into the match, everyone's like, you remember what happened at WrestleMania 8? Perfect got involved, then Elizabeth got involved. Now we're getting a ladder in the mix, and it's no disqualification. Randy, what kind of plan do you have knowing what took place at WrestleMania 8? And Savage has got a backup. Savage is like, I got a plan. And he doesn't reveal what this plan is. But then it turns out that plan was Hogan backing him up all along.
It's not bad.
Because I feel like Hogan doing it himself and inserting himself into the match would feel too much like WrestleMania 9. Whereas
I think if he inserted himself at the end as just like kind of like like again a simple chase off of Perfect gets him kind of bumped out of the scene, and then he wasn't able to do and again, this wouldn't be part of the story per se that you would follow up on necessarily, but he's there to thwart off what's making it the unfair advantage for Flair. Even though it is a ladder match, it's all fair.
Yeah.
But you're really just inserting him in the match in the moment, in my opinion, to lay the foundation, begin laying the foundation for him versus Flair. So it's not even necessarily about him and Savage. Like, oh, I'm here to help my brother. It's like, I'm here to make it right. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I'm here to make sure that this guy doesn't steal the championship.
Yep.
And unfortunately, he falls short of
Yeah.
that. So I think that's what I think you would want to be planting that seed, even if you didn't do the whole mega power thing
Okay,
that we're talking
I like
about.
that because you could take that and you can expand off that with Savage. It's like, I didn't ask for your help. What are you doing here? Like, you know,
Yeah.
like you just cost me the championship.
Yeah. And then you could theoretically get a match out of that on the way to Flair.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's tons of possibilities. I
Okay,
think that
so-
you could go that way. Hogan is really just getting down there to even the odds,
Yes.
if you will, because Flair clearly in the match at some point is going to is going to have a dirty trick up his sleeve that he's going to employ.
Okay.
And and Hogan gets in the middle of that, and while he might thwart that in the moment, I don't know, while he's chasing off Perfect or whatever, Flair pulls the knucks out, or Flair ties Savage to a post and climbs, or something. You know what I
Okay.
mean? And Hogan looks and like, oh shit,
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I think that would be the idea of Hogan's inclusion in the ladder match. Again, ultimately to set aside the to lay the groundwork for I'm coming for you, Ric Flair.
Okay. All right. All right. So let's bang out the rest of this card.
So we've got locked in. It sounds like we're locking that one in. So we've got locked in the WWF Tag Team Championships, Money Inc. versus LOD versus the Head Shrinkers versus High Energy. We've kind of got we'll call it the Beefomania match or the Meat Mania of Lex Luger versus the British Bulldog for the ICO Pro Championship. Or whatever the fuck you want to.
That's good. Yeah.
And then you got kind of
gotta
teacher
want
versus student with Roddy Piper versus HBK. Got Bret Hart versus Texas Tornado, kind of the family feud. Mm-hmm. And then you've got the title unification ladder match that being Savage and Ric Flair. That is 5 matches. We've kind of already decided we're going to do a Battle Royal.
Battle Royal 6. 7 Undertaker Papa Shango Smoke and Mirrors.
Yeah.
And then no, I'm sorry. Shit.
We were going to do we were going to do Warrior and Hogan versus
Sid and Shango. So where does Undertaker fall?
So we either put him in the Battle Royal, or we the Earthquake idea wasn't bad, the Boss Man idea wasn't bad. I'm not against putting him in the Battle Royal. Maybe he wins it. You know what I mean? Maybe that's where you're passing the torch. You know what I mean? It is kind of what ended up. Undertaker kind of assumed that role, at least from a locker room leader reverence perspective.
All right, so let's look who from my end on this Battle Royal. We would have the Natural Disasters, the Model Rick Martel, the Big Boss Man, El Matador, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, the Mountie, Dino Bravo, the Barbarian, the Repo Man, and the Brooklyn Brawler. On your end, in the Battle Royal, you would have Andre the Giant.
There's Andre, there's the Nasty Boys, there's Tatanka, Bushwhackers, Virgil, Brutus Beefcake, Sergeant Slaughter. I'm not naming all the guys, but obviously there's going to be some just bodies to throw around. There's a Conan, there's a Colonel Mustafa, there's a Barry Horowitz.
I'm okay with Undertaker being in the Battle Royal and Andre's the one that kind of passes the torch to him. Maybe it comes down to Earthquake and Typhoon eliminate Andre.
And I think maybe I'll fill in the blank here. They're ready to dispose of Undertaker at the end, and Andre comes back to kind of
even the odds,
save him a little bit.
Yeah.
And whether or not at this point it doesn't matter who wins the match, but Andre is at least kind of
endorsing Undertaker as like that next big man in WWF. I can picture that visual.
Yeah.
I can picture that. I'm all right with that. All right, so we'll do the Battle Royal. Andre, Undertaker, Natural Disasters, double main event, Hogan and Warrior against Sid and Papa Shango with Harvey Whippleman in their corner. And then the main event, unification ladder match, Macho Man Randy Savage is the WWF champion taking on Ric Flair, the real world's heavyweight champion, who will have Mr. Perfect and Bobby Heenan in his corner, and he will have Miss Elizabeth and maybe an equalizer of sorts to make sure that things are fair and down the middle. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
All right. So let's run down this card one more time, and we will get out of here.
No match order yet at this point.
Do you want to do a match order? No. Okay, that's
sort
fine.
of loosely putting it in order, but
Yep.
So we've got the tag team title match, Money Incorporated defending the belts against in a fatal 4-way against the Legion of Doom, the Head Shrinkers, and High Energy. Then we've got Lex Luger and the British Bulldog, and just a meaty, beefy men slapping meat up against each other. And then we got a tag team match. We got Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior against Sid and Papa Shango. Then we've got Roddy Piper versus Shawn Michaels. Intercontinental title, we've got Brett versus Texas Tornado. We've got the Battle Royal consisting of everybody else, kind of headlined by Andre the Giant, The Undertaker, and Natural Disasters. And then we've got the title unification ladder match, Savage versus Flair.
And then, did you put Hogan, Warrior, Sid, and Shango?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So that's a pretty good. That sounds like a better card than WrestleMania 8. To be honest with you, if you think about it, as much as I enjoy WrestleMania 8, not one of the better WrestleManias, but that's something for a discussion for another day. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate you taking the time, and go on our social media and share with us what you think would be a good Prohibited Portal / Forbidden Door kind of card for the year 1992. Would love to hear what your thoughts are. But coming up in our next episode, we're gonna start the summer in style. We're gonna cover infamous outdoor wrestling events in history. WCW did a lot of these shows. They did like Disney Nitros and Spring Breaks, and they had those Sturgis pay-per-views. And then more recently, we've had WrestleManias outdoors and SummerSlams and things like that. So we're going to cover an outdoor show in wrestling history. The one that you and I are going to particularly watch, we're going to do a watch-along of the WCW Monday Nitro from July the 8th, 1996. It was the night after Bash at the Beach when Hulk Hogan turned heel, and this show emanated from Disney MGM Studios outside, practically in the parking lot of Disney, if I'm not mistaken, if I recall. That was an outdoor setup. So it's summertime, and as they say, the living ain't easy, and I thought it would be kind of fun to kind of have a summer theme to it with outdoor wrestling shows. So be on the lookout for that next episode. July 8th, Nitro, 1996, outdoors from the Disney MGM Studios. Watch along here on Kickin' Out at 2. And I think it's about that time we put this Prohibited Portal down for the 3 count, and we'll see you all next episode.